Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everyone is having a fantastic afternoon. My name is Ed Gow Jr., and I am a member of the steering committee for Dad Central Ontario, which is part of Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And I'm joined by Drew Solon. Drew, how are you today?
I'm great, Ed.
Good.
Hard to believe that the fall's already here. We're already, almost 2 and 3 weeks into school. So, so far so good.
Has the furnace come on yet?
We have toughed it out. As you can see, I'm wearing the sweater. We do not have the furnace on yet, and I'm hoping that the warm up this week will keep it off for maybe till October. We'll see.
Fantastic. And Drew, can you share a little bit about yourself with our audience today?
Yeah, absolutely, Ed. Thanks so much. So everyone, if you haven't been here before, welcome. It's great to have you here. Really excited to know that you're finding value in what we do and have found us and found this conversation. So my name is Drew Solon. I'm the director of Dad Central Ontario. We're continuing to try and help support anyone who's supporting dads to be active and involved fathers, and that's really our goal here. So the goal of these conversations that we've been doing, it's always to provide support. And so we're grateful to have 3 panelists today. We're going to talk about the widespread benefits of paternity leave, including some of the best practices of taking paternity leave, which I think will be a really interesting and valuable part of the conversation. So thank you to everyone who is here with us live. We're glad you're here and look forward to this conversation. Before we do get started though, I'd love to learn about who is here with us. So if you're a dad on the call, please use the chat and type dad. If you're a mom or a partner, please type mom. And if you're someone who works with families, please type other. Just be great to get a sense of kind of who is in the conversation.
Fantastic. Thank you, Drew. And as Drew said, our conversation topic today is very specific. And I love how we say the widespread benefits of paternity leave, the widespread benefits, not just the benefits of paternity leave, the widespread benefits of paternity leave. And we have 3 friends with us today to share with us the importance of this conversation, especially at this time. So first off, we have a returning friend, Dr. Gregory Fabiano. He's a professor of psychology at Florida International University and a Dove Men Care fatherhood expert. So Greg, how are we doing today?
Great. Thanks for the invitation to be here for this talk. This is a really interesting conversation to really follow through with and think about.
Excellent. Next up, we have 2 new friends. Raymond Villeneuve, he's the executive director for Regroupement pour la Valorisation, and I probably butchered my French there, de la Paternity, and he is based in Quebec. So Raymond, at least I got your name right.
Yeah, almost. Anyway,
oh, it's close.
Yes. Anyway, we are really happy to be with you today.
Thank you so much. And finally, we have Mardoché Mertilus. He's program liaison for the program that Raymond is part of. So Mardo, pleasure to share with you this afternoon. How we doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. Thank you very much for having me on this panel. And I'm glad that me and Raymond could be part of this beautiful topic when it comes to paternity leave.
Excellent. So before we get started, everyone, and again, thanks for being here this afternoon. Our goal today is to discuss about paternity leave. We're going to focus on paternity leave and why it's so important for dads, kids, and families, the barriers that limit dads from taking paternity leave, and possible solutions based on Quebec being so much further ahead in supporting paternity leave policy and uptake. And that's why we have Raymond Mardo here, so they can share some of the great successes they've had in the area of paternity leave. So we're going to be doing some panel conversations, and if there is room at the end, please, we will get to some questions. And if you have any questions or comments, Drew will be monitoring them in the chat room. So our first conversation piece today, gentlemen, from your perspective, why is paternity leave such an important topic for us to discuss?
It's sure that the birth of a kid is really a key moment. It's really an important moment, and it's because it's the beginning of the relationship between the father and the kids. So when you can be there, it's so much important to really live the transformation of your life, to build the relationship with your kid, to live the transformation of the relationship with your wife, and all of that needs time. So it's so much important when you can stop working just to be there, to live all of that. Because the birth, especially when for the first kid, it's really the occasion to bound the family in the project, because it's a big switch. Before, man and woman are a couple, and after that they are family. It's really maybe one of the best the more important switch in the life. So it's important to be there, to live that, and to have some great habits of involvement, of sharing tasks, of all of that. And all of that is good for the kids, for the father, for the mother, for gender equality. So there is a lot of benefits for everyone, for the society, when the father can be there at each day to live all of that.
Okay. Mardo, Greg?
Yeah, if I could add something to what Raymond said, I think also paternity leave, it's a great way. It was a great start, if I could allow myself to say that, to start as a society to tell dads that we think they are important, and we think that having them in the life of their kid is not just having them as a provider, but also having them as to be taken care of. So for me, paternity leave, that's the message, sorry, that it says to dads. It says that as a society, we recognize that, yes, you guys are probably not giving birth, but it's important for you guys to get that time and to spend it with your child, and to start also spending it with your other partner, so you could start building that family together.
Great. Greg?
Paternity leave also can provide a cumulative advantage for the child and for the dad and for the family as a whole. So if I was a financial planner and I was going to give you $1,000, if you wanted that money to grow, you wouldn't start to invest that money 10 years down the line or 30 years down the line. You would invest that money as soon as it was possible, because there's a cumulative advantage to the compounding interest of that money. So now if you think about dad, you want the dad to be present and active and involved as soon as is possible. And paternity leave provides that opportunity, and potentially allows the dad to be networked into how the family runs, how the family works, how the family interacts right off the bat. And so then that networking and growth increases exponentially over time in a way that might not work the same way if the dad tried to enter at 5 years old or 10 years old or 18 years old. And so this paternity leave is really critical in helping families be the best they can be.
Excellent. Next conversation piece, just building on what you've just shared, each one of you. What are some of the things, some of the advantages, some of the positive things that dads may not be aware of when it comes to paternity leave? And I just build on that. When you have conversations about paternity leave with fathers, what are some of the things they don't think about?
Some studies in Quebec shows that the first year after the birth of the first kid is a really critical period for the couple. A lot of couples separate after the birth of a first kid. So it's really important to be there. And I said to a lot of fathers that the best way to make your couple strong is to invest yourself in your fatherhood, to be there. The mother his kids will be really important if you are there. If your kid is important, if your family is important, you will build something together, and it will be really important to avoid separation in sometimes. In Quebec, we saw that not so far from 20% of couples separate in the 2 years after the birth of a first kid. Wow. It's really important. So you have to be there, you have to live there, you have to adapt yourself. So I think for fathers, it's important to say that. It's maybe the most important day of your life when you become a father. So you have to be there. It's so much important for your kid, but for your family and your couple too.
Gentlemen, who else want to add? Mardo, Greg?
I could go. I think that one of the things also that like maybe a lot of fathers they realize probably when they get that paternity leave is that all the sense of like what exactly it is for them to be a dad. And what I mean by what it is to be a dad, not what it is that you see a dad on TV, but for them, what kind of dad they want to be. So I think it gives them an opportunity to really take time and to see, you know what, at the end of the day, I'm doing my best, but this is the kind of direction I would love to take with my family. And I think if you don't have time to start thinking about that, sometimes your decision might not be rational. But when you get that paternity leave, to really take the time and to have those discussions with your other partner, to see also where is my position in this couple, and where how are we going to split the task, and how am I seeing the next few days. I think paternity leave brings that also, so I think that's a great bonus for the dads to have that paternity leave.
Greg?
Yeah, I think those are good points. I guess what I would add is when I think about the benefits of paternity leave, I think about, well, what are the benefits for the child? What are the benefits for the dad? And then what are the benefits for the partners or the family unit? And for the child, we know that dads make unique contributions to child development that are really important. So there's evidence that shows that dads talk in a slightly louder voice. They use more complex language when they talk to their even infant children. And that turns out to be an important predictor of not only speech and language development, but eventually academic readiness. And that dad role is really important. We know that the way that dads socialize with kids, the way that they play with children is unique, and that promotes important social skills development, so that when the kids eventually grow up and enter a preschool setting or early elementary setting, they're equipped with the tools to be able to negotiate those really complex social interactions that happen their peers. And so, and then we also know later on in life, when school starts, dad's emphasis on academic skill building makes unique contributions to children's eventual academic achievement, which predicts long-term positive outcomes in employment and in society. And so giving dads the opportunity through this paternity leave to be present in the child's life from early on is really letting the train out of the station to move towards these positive outcomes that we want to see. Now, we can also think about benefits for the dad. So their identity as a father will change if they're able to take a more active hands-on role with the child in caretaking tasks and gazing into an infant's eyes and helping with care and comforting and soothing of the child. And then finally, when we think about the unit, if the dad is present and taking on some of the burden that's present in a new family, I think Raymond's right on the money. It's a shock to the system to have a new person in your household who needs 100% attention and care all the time. This is a way for the burden to be shared amongst the partners in a way that is more equitable and perhaps sets things off on a positive trajectory going forward.
Fantastic. Thank you, gentlemen, for the input so far. Next conversation piece is here. We're looking at research continues to show that dads want to be active and involved dads, but we still have a disparity in numbers. Less than 20% of the Canadian dads, except in the province of Quebec, take paternity leave. From your perspective, what are the barriers that are preventing dads from taking paternity leave? And I especially would like to get some input on the successes that are being made in Quebec in regard to paternity leave from Raymond and Mardo. So go ahead, gentlemen, please.
Thank you. It's really interesting, because today, at the end of the day, I go to the Quebec Parliament to talk about paternity leave. We have 5 weeks for now, and I will ask for 8 weeks, because the more the father are involved at the beginning, it really changed a lot of things. And like you said, before the law of 2006 in Quebec, it was like in the rest of Canada, and it was 15 or 20% of fathers were taking paternity leave. They passed the law in 2006, and the year after that, 70% of fathers take paternity leave. 2 years after that, it was 80% of fathers who take paternity leave. So we can hope that everything will change, but the best way to make the change is having a law making that it's a right of the fathers and then the mothers to have paternity leave, maternity leave, parental leave to help them. It's a societal choice, because sometimes it's so difficult for fathers and mothers to have enough paternity or maternity leave. So I think, and the Quebec experience proved that we need help from the government to make the things change. It's really, really important, because often the mentalities, the stereotypes, the work environment make that people don't think it's possible. And I think it's really possible. And we have some other countries in Europe. In Sweden, it's 15 weeks of paternity leave. In Spain, they want to make a more paternity leave. In Finlandia too. So it's possible, and it's really a good invest in family to have that kind of social policies. So it's sure we are convinced that it's really, really the best way. In fact, it's necessary to have that kind of public policy.
If I could add to that, I think, like Raymond pretty much said it, but the success of here, yes, definitely, it was the fact that it was a law, and the fact that that law was pushed on employers also. So the employers are sending the messages out there, because yes, you could have a law, but not everybody maybe is going to be aware of it. But if, you know, when you go to work and you're telling your people at work, yes, oh, I'm having a baby, and your boss is telling you, oh, I don't know if you know, but you know, you have a paternity leave and you have to take it. You don't have to take it right away, but you have to take it in a certain amount of time. So I think with all that, that became a successful thing, and it's becoming normal. And as a society, when we start having laws like that, slowly by slowly, we're starting to put in people's head that it's a normal thing. Because if you still talk to people maybe 30 years ago, they'll tell you, what is paternity leave? They'll be like, no, I know about, like, you know, when the mom gives birth, you know, the mom has a break, but why the dad needs a break too? So to see that, you know, a society is actually taking a stand to say father are important, and they do need a time to take the time to spend with the child for the benefit of the child well-being and the benefit of the family. I think all of that makes it a success. But definitely to have a law, it's the number one, I think, for us.
Before you jump in, Greg, I'd like to get your perspective from I guess, an area where it isn't really promoted, and what are the barriers in an area? You're based in the U.S., but throughout Canada, we don't have it as progressive as they do in Quebec. So what are your thoughts?
Well, let's be honest. No one at the end of their days who's a dad lays back on their deathbed and says, boy, I wish I just spent a couple extra hours at the office and worked a few more weekends, right? What we're talking about here is something that really cuts to the core of what most people's values are as a parent, that they want to invest in their child. That investment they hope pays off in their child growing up to be a happy, successful, independent individual. And I think we look at Canada with a lot of jealousy that the policies are a lot more progressive when it comes to paternity leave. In the US, we have a lot of work to do with both maternity and paternity leave, both of those things. But when we think about how can we maybe change this, I agree with what Mardo said, that we need to think about policy and law, because when you think about the person, the dad who's eligible for the paternity leave, they may not be in a role that it gives them the latitude in their job to just take off time, or they may have bills that they have to worry about, or obligations from their school that was not too far in their past, that they have bills from that are coming in. And so we have to reduce the stigma associated with paternity leave by really is a whole society coming together and saying, political leaders, we're going to say this is something we value. We're investing early because the payoff for our next generation is so important that we have to make this investment right now. Employers have to say, you know, the work is going to be there tomorrow. Your child's here today. We're going to take care of your child and your family right now. And coworkers have to be willing to shift some tasks around, maybe while that person's out on leave, and then really embolden the person to be able to say, this is an important thing. I'm going to take this paternity leave, and feel supported by everybody around them that this is the right thing to do. And then when their colleague goes out on paternity leave in a year or two, they'll help shift the burden and take some of the work so that person's child can benefit from this positive impact on that their parenting is able to convey to the child.
Great, fantastic. This wasn't a scheduled part of our conversation, but I want to talk about it here. And we talked a little bit before we went live about 2020 being a very unique year in many areas. Just want to know from each one of you, are you hearing more fathers talking about the positive experience of spending time with their children?
We made a survey in Quebec in last May about co-parenting. And we asked the father and the mother if they see some benefits of the confinement, the lockdown, you say in English?
Yeah.
Okay. And we were so much happy to see that 40% of parents said that they see benefits, and they think that benefits will stay after the lockdown. So, and they force us to change their habits, to adapt the way and all of that. So it was really 40% who said, yes, it's give us benefits. But at the same time, 25% of parents said it was really, really, really difficult. We have the two sides of the situation. For some parents, especially the one who lost their jobs, who have no money and all of that, it has been a really, really hard period. But at the same time, for an important part, it was an opportunity to make change. So it's the two things at the same time. And I have to quit in 5 minutes.
Yes, so certainly do give any final words you have, and we certainly can let you go.
If you permit, I just want to say two things that are really important for me. If we add that change in Quebec about paternity leave, it's because the society realized that it was maybe one of the best way for gender equality. If you have more equality at the birth of the kid, it's so much important, because if you share task, if you share task in a better way at the birth of a kid, it will give you some opportunity to have more equality after that. And it's why in the Quebec public policies, we have paternity leave. Maybe we will have more paternity leave, because it's really, 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 really good for gender equality. If you have to talk to your governments in your province or to the Canada, we always have to talk about gender equality. It's really, really a key. It's important to say that to you. And the other things which is really important to me is that, yes, paternity leave is important, but if we want real public family policies and family services who are really good for fathers too, we have to think about more than just paternity leave. Paternity leave is the beginning, is the first step, but we need more for that. When we have services to the family, often it's most for mother and kids, and it's wonderful to support mother and kids, but we have to help the father too. And I think that we have, if we want the old project, the old change, we have to, yes, use paternity leave, but to go more far away than that. So I think it's the two keys, gender equality and to have a whole vision of the system of supporting families who have to integrate fathers too. It's really a big change, but I think that it's what we want to do. We want a better world, especially the young people. For them, equality is something really important. For women, for men, we want that. And if we want that, we have to support that change. And it's a all large change, but I think that society is ready to hear that kind of message. And in Quebec, we have several policies, but we want still more. And I think that the rest of Canada could have to go that way. And it's really important for me to share that with you. I hope that you understand. My English is not so good.
Absolutely.
If
Been
you don't
very
understand,
good.
okay, if it's not clear, ask Mardo, he will translate
I'll repeat it.
all of that.
No, it's all good. It was very clear. Raymond, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to share with us. Thank you for what you have done, what you are doing, and what you're going to be doing in regards to fathers and families going forward. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much, and we will keep in touch because we have so much to share between us for the fathers, for the mothers, for the kids. We have to share all of that.
Thank you so much. You have a great day.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So Mardo,
Yeah.
that's a hard follow-up, but I know Mardo and Greg, that was pretty good. So I'm glad I'm not in both of your shoes right now. But so Mardo, what are you hearing from dads about increased involvement with their children since 2020 has hit us?
What I'm hearing since this pandemic happened, obviously there's a lot of people that are in crisis. And like Raymond said, in the survey that we did, we questioned a few parents, but like me, I would rather talk about like the people that are close to me and actually what I saw in my own house. I realized, and some of my friends were telling me that like, we don't spend time with our kids. I work in the field of dads. That's what I do. I give trainings for dads. I'm a proud dad. I like to see proud dads. And what I realize is that I never see my kids. Like, yes, I do see them when I'm home, but like, I don't get to do as much activities that I would love to do with them. And this pandemic just really gave me an opportunity to really step up my game, like they say, and to be more present for little stuff. It could be just reading a book with the kids. Because if you ask me personally, did I show my kids how to read? I'll tell you honestly, no. The school did that, and my wife maybe probably helped, but I didn't do that. So now I'm really using this time since I'm home and I have the possibility of working from home to really be more hands-on and to really give that kind of support to the kids. I'm not saying they were missing it, but I'm just saying since I have the time to do it, I'm using the time to really be there more. And that's why I'm hearing from like some of my friends also. They're telling me, my God, we realize that we don't do stuff like as a family together. And I think a lot of people, I know Raymond said that in the stats it was 40%, but a lot of people that are coming out of this pandemic or still going on through it, that are going to be stronger as a family, because when you're with a person 24/7 and with your family 24/7, it's make it or break it, like they say. So, and for a lot of people, they found ways and they realized that, you know what, let's do stuff together again. Let's like rebuild this family and let's be happy. So from my point of view, I'm hearing a lot of positive in this negative that we're dealing with, unfortunately, but a lot of positive is coming out of it, and especially for the benefits of the kids.
Fantastic. Greg?
You know, everything has consequences, and what we've done in response to the pandemic is going to have consequences as well. And one of the so if you go to sports stores, for example, it's kind of interesting to see they're all out of fishing rods and bicycles and you know, baseball mitts and things that families might do together when they're not able to be in kind of an after-school schedule. Rock'em sock'em every day, something new. We're bringing our kids from here to there and everywhere. Families have gotten a chance to spend more time together, and I think that the side effect of that is going to be that families are going to say, "Boy, that was quite nice. Maybe we need to do some more of that." Just like Marta was saying, I could speak for my own family. We've had a lot more walks and hikes and things that we didn't often find the time to do that we're now finding the time to do fairly regularly because it's fun. I did want to comment on one thing Raymond said before he signed off, though, that I do think is important when we think about paternity leave. I think he's right that that is an important policy. But now that the dads are present and available, we also have to make sure that they're all equipped with the tools to be able to maximize that situation. And I'll give you a quick story from my own work. I work a lot with kids with challenging behaviors. And one of the things we do is we teach parents how to work more effectively with a child who might not always listen the first time or might have temper tantrums and that sort of thing. I ran into one at a grocery store 10 years later after I'd worked with him and his child. And he came up and he's like, "Greg, oh, it's so good to see you. I got to tell you, you changed my life." And I thought, well, that's not usually the reception I get for anything I do. I said, "Well, it's great. I'm glad to hear." He said, "You know what? You taught me in that class to say more nice things to my child, and I started to do that, and it changed my whole family." And I was thinking, boy, say more nice things to the kid. Isn't that obvious? But then I thought, well, that's my business. I'm a child psychologist. I tell people every day that you got to catch kids being good and praise. And I had just gotten from my mechanic where I pulled my car in and he popped the hood. He was an old friend of mine. He said, "Oh boy, you got a coolant problem here." I'm like, "Oh no, a coolant problem. How much is this going to cost me? What are we going to do this?" He says, "I just have some coolant right here. I'll put it in there and you can drive out of here." So what's obvious to us, and I know that there's a lot of people on the call who are professionals that are working with dads and dad-focused work. What's obvious to us might not be obvious to the dad who now has more time with an infant. They have to figure out what to do to best soothe the colicky baby or how to best communicate with the other parent in a situation that is not one they've confronted before. And so there are resources. I know that they're going to be publicized at the end of this this chat. They're good places to go. Dad Central, DoveCare, DoveMen Plus Care has resources, and there are resources from public policy agencies that are available too to help support what should dads do now that they have this opportunity to be with their kid. And I would encourage the people on this call to follow up with that for sure.
Fantastic. So let's transition to, say a dad is ready to take some paternity leave. And Greg, you made an interesting point there. What tools should they have in their toolbox to make sure it's a successful paternity leave stint? So Mardo, I'll let you start with that.
Successful paternity leave. That's
successful paternity leave. Correction. Yes, I'm a wordsmith, so you got me.
I still believe it's a big statement when we say successful paternity leave. I think the most important thing would be to first of all, if the dad doesn't have resources next to them, I would embrace, I don't know for the rest of Canada, but like, you know, for CLCs and stuff like that, they are in contact with all the parents when the parents are about to give birth. And like, I know for myself, I do give prenatal classes to dads, and I use this as a big tool to talk about paternity leave and what they're planning to do with their paternity leave and how they're planning to talk about it. Because usually dads, the way sometimes, unfortunately, it's presented to them, it's also you're off of work. So you're going to be off of work and you're going to be home, and pretty much that's it. That's also the dads, like he said, they don't really know what am I going to do? How am I going to handle this time? But I think as professionals, different workers for like family organizations and stuff like that should be able to work together with the CLC and the nurses to kind of not necessarily have to know who's giving birth, but for them to be able to give to those parents information about different organizations that could help them through that phase. Because when we're talking about like, if let's say the dad takes it's 5 weeks in the beginning of the baby's birth, we're talking like mom has to breastfeed, and a lot of dads that I get in my prenatal class, they're telling me, Mardo, there's nothing really for me to do at the beginning because baby's breastfeeding, the baby's not really doing anything. So I guess I'll take my paternity leave later. So, and that answers a little bit your question. It's just because they feel like there's nothing for me to do at home. I'm not needed. And unfortunately, in the system that we're living, the message also that we're sending to dads is that we're not telling them be a dad. We're telling them you're there to be a support to mom that's going to give birth, because mom needs that support system. But let's say the dad is not there. They'll replace the dad by anybody else that's close to you that can give you that support. So I think we need to really find different organizations that are willing to take care of that in the way of asking them the questions. Are you okay, first of all? How are you dealing with this pregnancy? How are you seeing the next few weeks? Do you have any questions? Because just the fact that we don't ask them if I have questions, we assume that they are okay. And by doing so, I think that's the first step that we should be able to do as a society to go forward, because we do it for moms. And so why not do it for that, to just go forward and to make sure that they're okay and they have all the right tools without even knowing what the tools are? Because some of the dad might just tell you, I just don't know, if I want to go take a walk, can I put this on the baby or this not? And a lot of dads are just waiting for mom's approval most of the time when they do stuff. So I think from my perspective, it would be really to find all the people, like I would say nurses, the people in the CLC that have that information, to get in contacts with the different organizations that are working on the field with those families, to kind of put them in links. So because here we have a lot of mères visiteuses, pères visiteurs, and I know that's one thing that les pères visiteurs, they tell us all the time. When they go at home after the birth of a baby with a nurse, then their job is to talk to dad. So they take dad on the side and to see, okay, so not really what is your plan, but are you comfortable? Do you have any question? Without necessarily mom and the nurse being there, so the dad feels this kind of bonding one-to-one, that like, oh, people are actually taking the time to ask me if I'm okay. So I think that would be my personal opinion, definitely. But I think it would be a first great step to start doing, because it's true, we can't teach a mom or a dad how to be a great mom or how to be a great dad, but we could answer their questions and we could help them with their fears. So I think as workers, that's maybe our job when it comes to, what's the first step for that. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that was beautiful. Greg, what would you like to add on to what Mardo has shared with us?
Well, not much. I thought that was a really comprehensive answer. I guess the one thing we can all do is empower dads to really be directing what's going to happen with their interactions with their child in a really positive way. And one of the things we can do is help dads that are heading towards paternity leave brace themselves for what's to come. We spend a lot of time with the childbirth, and it's very exciting, and we have a lot of visitors, and people are bringing balloons and flowers. But then you go home and you're sleep deprived, you don't feel well, you feel confused, you're not sure what is the right answer, and that goes on for some time, right? When we think about infancy, the child is 100% dependent on the parents at that point. They really are not able to engage with their world other than crying to signal that they're hungry or wet or overtired or whatever it might be. And so as professionals, we can really help the dads, first of all, understand that this is going to be, these are some of the challenges or some of the things that you're going to be confronting head on. It does get a little less demanding. You might be able to sleep in 10 or 15 years from now, but for now, you're going to be really on your child's schedule. And so what's really important right now is that you communicate with the other parent and you decide, well, what are our values here? What is the way we're be able to raise this child in a way that's consistent with those values, because they're going to have everybody else chirping in their ears, right? The mother-in-law, the neighbor, brother or sister, all those people are never short on opinions. But what's really best for the child is that the parents co-parent together, and there is no universal right way. The right way is what those two parents decide on, is what they feel is going to be best for their child, and then they execute their plan. They work together to make that happen. And that's the hard part, right? Coming up with the plan isn't easy. It isn't too hard. It's the execution of the plan that's hard. And that has to happen for lots of days in a row, that turn into months, that turn into years, and then eventually you now have an approach to parenting this child that hopefully is going to send them on the right track.
Good stuff.
Can I just
go
allow-
ahead, Mardo, please.
Okay, sorry. It's just something quick that I wanted to add to what Gregory just said, because I use it all the time in my prenatal classes. I ask the parents, what is the biggest challenge of two new parents? And most of them are like, I don't know. And what we realize is that the mom was raised one way and the dad was raised one way, and now they have to raise a child together. So, and that takes communication. But if you don't tell new parents that they have to communicate, for them, but we are communicating, we are together. It's a natural thing. But they don't realize that as soon as the baby gets there, maybe you were mom's first priority and mom was your first priority for the longest time. But when the baby gets there, something changes and the baby becomes the parent's first priority. So some stuff that you used to see happening at home might not happen the same way. So, but that you learn that with communication. So just by explaining that to parents and to dad, to be like, maybe things are going to be different and you guys need to start talking together a little bit more about how you see the future of that. That makes a big difference in a couple.
Thanks. Greg, anything you want to add on? One thing I will just quickly say, Drew, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to add a little something, mostly because it was from a Movember study that they released last year, really around the transition into fatherhood, so the first time you're becoming a dad, and social connections. And so it was a really interesting study in terms of the end result of it is that, it's one of the most difficult transitions for a man to deal with, is becoming a father. But the value of, the social connections being a buffer against, some of those challenges, both for mental health or relational challenges, all those other things. So it's just another thing to think about. And, typically, depending, again, societal, cultural, sort of what is viewed as, masculine or not, can kind of play into that. But the reality is that there's still tremendous value in being able to maintain a friendship or two that are close to you that can be a sort of a buffer, an outlet. And of course, with what we've gone through this past year, it's even more challenging. So I think those are things that I have learned over the years, that, just having a conversation with another dad who's kind of gone through, ideally ahead of me, and has gone through what I'm going through, can be tremendously valuable, if nothing else, to be able to get off my chest what I'm experiencing and allow him to either just listen or to be like, well, here's what worked for me. So I just want to mention that as, around paternity, there's tremendous value of, still maintaining that social connection piece through a very difficult transition period. Not at the expense of the primary responsibility, but in addition to help support you be as best you can be in that primary responsibility.
Good points, Drew. I would also add, and I was just thinking as this conversation's been going on, the whole role, a big challenge for dads is he's not a financial provider anymore. He's a time provider. And that can be a very, very hard transition that a lot of people think a father's a provider. He works, he does this, he does this. This is a different role for him now. He's being valued for providing quality time, providing safety, providing encouragement. That can be a difficult transition for many people.
Yeah. And
especially for a lot of guys, I'm not working anymore. I'm not providing in this way anymore. Now I have to change my role a little bit. And again, if he's not used to that environment, it can be a very challenging one. So I just wanted to add, I don't know if Mardo or Greg, you want to add to that point, but that was something I just wanted to share in these few moments.
I think if I could take 2 seconds on that, because we do give a lot of training in my line of work on dads that are living with a situation of rupture, immigration dads. And this is a point that we hear a lot, especially when we're talking about immigration dads, because, some of them, they come here and in their country, providing for the family is the main and only role usually that is put on to the dad. And when they get here and they can't even do that, they don't even know how to communicate with the child. And somebody has to really find a way to take those dads and to really show them that there's different ways of caring for the child. Here in the RVP, we have a wheel that we call les facettes de l'engagement parental, which we have 8 different ways for a dad or a mom to be a part of the child's life. And we're talking about caring, we're talking about teaching, we're talking about financially. So just by showing a dad or a parent that yes, there's different ways of providing to your child. First of all, it could be a big eye opener because even for them, if the only thing they know is providing and money wise, and they lost their job or something happened, maybe they could find a way to find happiness a little bit in their role as a father, even if they're not doing the main thing that they think they're supposed to do. So I think it's a really great point that you're bringing, and I think we need a lot of professionals to really take the time to understand the needs of these dads when they meet them, because the biggest issue that we do as professionals is that we want to help, but by wanting to help, sometimes we forget to understand what's the need of the person that we're trying to help, and we're trying to do what we know that we have to do, but that's not answering to the need of that person. So I think, in all concept, we really have to take the time, to sometimes go a little bit deeper in that person's life without being too intrusive, but to kind of explain them overwise that there's not only one way to provide to your child or to provide to your family. There's a lot of ways that you could contribute.
Wonderful. Greg, anything you want to add?
I just add one point, that paternity leave is a formal way to say that there's more to being a dad than breadwinning or raising income. And I think that's an important policy point that we all should really embrace.
Excellent. Fantastic. As we're starting to wind down here, there were some things we wanted to cover that have been covered throughout this great conversation. Gentlemen, what advice would you give in 2020 for a dad who wants to take paternity leave?
Take it.
That was easy.
No, but with all seriously, I would say to embrace it. And a lot of dads sometimes also, what I hear, even here in Quebec, like we see the numbers are high, that 80% of dads are taking it. But what we don't see is that a lot of dads are feeling that little pressure still from sometimes their work. Oh, but why do you have to take it? Is mommy not home? And so I think the message I could say to those dads is that the time that you want to spend with your child and the time that you're not spending with your child is not really a time that you can get back. But let's be clear on the words. It's just take as much time as possible, because kids grow fast. Kids go really fast, and little moments, sometimes you don't have the chance again to get those moments back. So, and it's a great opportunity also. If you take it as soon as the baby's born, I like to say it's a great opportunity for the dad and the mom or their partner to really focus and to see how are we planning on going further with this family, without planning for the next few years, but just plan for the next few months. And after that, start creating that communication. So I embrace that, to take the paternity leave as much as they can, and for them to also be able to share with other dads the benefits that that brought to them. Because I think that's something like Drew was mentioning, by talking to other dads that's been there or that lived through that, could help us understand and break some of the stereotypes that we might have around us again, when we're talking about paternity leave, because it's not true that everybody's happy about it. You know, like some mothers-in-law might not be happy about it, some family members might not be happy about it, but at the end of the day, it's a question between you and your kid and your family. So, and it's a time that every dad should be able to take.
Greg.
I would agree with the just take it. As a parent of three teenagers now, I reflect back and I wish I had some of those weeks back when they were really little and still cared. At least I could keep them all in place. I knew where they were all the time, but it was also a very special time, right? When the world is new and they're discovering everything. And as a dad, you're the person who can show them on a walk, this is what an ant is, and look at them travel along this sidewalk, and look at these different colored leaves. There's all kinds of these just really great moments that are fleeting. And when we think about the time when when kids are little, it's also a time when people are often busy in their career, they're busy, they have other things going on, they have a lot of friends, and their families are busy, and it's just a whirlwind of things. And this paternity leave is a way to really formally say, I care about my child, I care about my child's family, I'm gonna roll up my sleeves and I'm gonna invest in this time right now, because that's what I'm gonna do for the rest of my time together with this child. And I'm gonna start right off the bat in this positive way.
And it's interesting, Marta, you'd mentioned about some people may not like it. There's one area or one, I guess, place we didn't talk about. What about challenges from the workplace when it comes to this subject? Input from either one of you.
Me in Quebec, since, you know, it's a law, some workplaces, they don't have a choice. They don't really have a choice, but it's the comments that comes with it that are hard for the dads. And I hear it a lot in the prenatal classes. Some of the dads, they tell me, yeah, you know, I was so excited that I was having a baby. And the first time they said to their boss, oh, I'm having a baby, the first thing that came after was like, okay, so you're gonna take your paternity leave. And it was kind of like said in a way that like, we're not really happy that you're gonna leave us. We're gonna be overwhelmed. So the dad felt that kind of pressure of like, you know, yes, there's my family, but there's my job that I love so much. And like, I know they won't replace me, but is there something there that like, I'm not supposed to do? And I don't think that's okay to put any man in that kind of position when they're talking about, wow, I'm having a baby and I want to go spend time with my kid. So unfortunately, I still believe that like when we're talking about workplace, there's a lot of people that are not on board totally with it. Let's not forget, paternity leave has not been here for 50 years. You know, we're talking about something that's been here pretty recent also. So I think it's going to take time. But I think as professionals, it's our job also to keep sharing that word and to be doing that mouth to hear so people can understand the benefit of it, because it's not going to happen tomorrow, but maybe, you know, in 2 days, more people are going to be more accepting of it, and maybe in 4 days. So I think, yes, negative is always going to come. Negative is always there, but I think there's so much benefits around paternity leave that at the end, nobody would be able to close their eyes on it and to see the benefit that paternity leave could give to the dad and the kids and the family as one piece. So
Great. Greg?
Yeah, I would just say that sometimes those bad examples that Marta was talking about happen because of ignorance. And so I think that talks like these and panels like these are important to start to convey there's another side to this coin. Okay, work might be a little more disrupted if somebody's not there for an amount of time, but the payoff is immense. If this worker is happy and their family is happy and healthy, they're going to be much more productive for the long term. as a society, we all have to start to think about, well, what do we value? Production today or healthy next generation tomorrow? And I think if people really stop and think, then they'll be willing to do the hard work to start to reduce some of the stigma that Mardo's talking about. And the more people start to rally around that this paternity leave is an important, it's important not just for the father, but for the whole society. I think you'll start to see more of a groundswell of people being understanding of it and now reinforcing and supporting it. But there's still hard work to do. I agree with Mardo.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. I'd like to thank both of you for taking the time today, and also Raymond, who had to leave. A great conversation, really strong, a lot of great points. And I'm going to invite Drew to come back in to close it up.
Great. Well, thank you, Ed. And of course, another big thank you to you, Dr. Fabiano and Mardo, and to Raymond. You know, the biggest thing that I really want to share is that, you know, we've got resources to help in this situation, both for dads who are evaluating paternity leave, and I've shared some of them just in the chat in the links. And we also have a dedicated site for when dads end up taking paternity leave. The questions around what do I do, how do I do, the communication points that have been brought up, how important that is in building a relationship. And so that's our New Dad Manual. We've got a dedicated site for New Dad Manual, newdadmanual.ca, and we've got additional resources around this idea of what's going on with my child, which is, you know, in that sort of first year of life from their brain development, and how can I actually do the right things to help support that brain development from a dad's perspective. So that's those are some of the additional resources we have on dadcentral.ca to support this idea of how do I, once I have taken paternity leave, how do I do it well, and how do I support my partner? And then of course we've got great resources from Dove Care, and that we've also got on our site that we've shared around the thinking about paternity leave. What are the benefits? What are the nuances? We've got some links to Service Canada and the new 5 weeks of Daddy Days that was launched as of last year in 2019. So those are the types of pieces of information. I think the more that we can get it out, the more that we can share it with people, the more that people see and understand that this is available to me and it offers such tremendous value, and those long-term benefits Dr. Fabiano was talking about are something that I just really didn't recognize. And they have the support to do it and feel the confidence that I know what to do when I have done it. I think we'll be able to continue to see, hopefully, an increase, right? We can get further and further ahead as far as the number of dads who are taking paternity leave, the opportunities for them to do so, and the employers who support it, and a society and a culture that embraces it. So with that, I just want to say maybe one or two quick thank yous to Dove Care as a sponsor. They have a great resource that I think our goal is to probably try and share it. It is some of that research on paternity leave. It's both global in scope, but also great data from Canada as well. So what we'd like to do is be able to share that great resource as much as we can. And thank you to Dove Care for providing that and helping us get more of that information out. And so thank you again, everyone, for attending. If you want to access all of our resources, they're available at dadcentral.ca. And of course, if you found value in the things that you're finding, please share them with others. We want more to get involved. So with that, just a final thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Dove Care, as always, too.
In our next talk, which will be in October, and we'll see you then.
Pardon me?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you very much.